Hello, everyone. It's Tim Hollenden with the Hollenden team at eXp Realty and a founding member of the Freedom Team, a 3,000 member eXp organization. And with me this morning is my dear, dear, dear friend, Aileen Fountain. How are you this morning, girl?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Good. So great to see you. What's been
Yeah,
going
I
on?
know. I never see you.
I know it. I haven't been to Gulf Shores in what, a month?
Yeah.
So, well, obviously, you're a freaking rock star agent. I'm so excited to have you on the show today. And just by matter of introduction, everyone, Aileen did $28 million last year alone. About 72 million since she's been at EXP 4 years now, getting ready, or actually just started her fifth year with us. She's a four-time Icon Award winner. I'll let her get into a little bit more about what that means later. Just a really, really superstar agent. So again, welcome. What I'd like to do just to keep yourself comfortable, relax, get into the flow here, and just kind of go back to your real estate career, when it began, and sort of tell your story. I'd love to hear it.
Well, I got started at 25 years old.
That was just like 5 years ago, right?
19, 18, 19. I just started my 19th year. I knew absolutely nothing. I was just dumb enough to get into the business.
I love it.
And I had figured, man, if I can just sell 8 condos a year, I'll be rich.
Yeah.
And little did I know that, it was going to be a lot of hard work to get to where I am here today. But
yeah, we make it look easy, don't we?
I'm so glad I made the decision back then to get into real estate, because it is absolutely something I love. I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
Yeah.
As hard as I have worked to get to where I am, at least you can say that you loved what you did while you were doing it. And, so it very different from my hospital computer software background in corporate America right out of college. So
I'd forgotten that. I forgot we shared that IT background.
Yep.
Wow. It's probably why we hit it off back in 2013 when we met.
Yep. Well, our minds are very similarly wired. So,
that is a fact.
Business wise, we're very aligned.
Yep. Awesome. Well, kind of step us through your career. What's that looked like? You've been with a couple of different brokerages, not many. What, 3 total? Does that sound right?
Yeah, 3 total. So when I first got into the business, I started out at Exit Realty. Exit Realty back then was the best split you could get. I mean, 20 years ago, everybody wanted to start you out. Every brokerage was going to start you out on a 50-50 split. Exit started you out at a 70-30 split with the, opportunity to get to a 90-10. So to me, that was by far the best opportunity. And they also offered training, and a lot of brokerages didn't offer training. So it was a great place for me to start. Yep. Really, 4 or 5 years in, the market changed considerably. We were in the Great Recession. Things were just very different. And I knew that I was kind of at a crossroads on whether or not I was going to make it in the business. So I decided to change and go with RE/MAX, which was heavily entrenched in my market, definitely the strongest brand and strongest brokerage down here. And it was a great move for me. My business definitely survived the Great Recession and then thrived on the other side. And so, and at RE/MAX, 95-5 split. So gosh, who was going to ever give me a better split than that, is what I thought. So I was there just shy of 10 years, and honestly thought I would retire at RE/MAX. I loved RE/MAX.
I did too. Same story.
Yeah, we had something that we definitely had in common. And then when you called me up at the end of 2017, December of 2017, at that point, you had already sold your RE/MAX franchise. You had stayed on as a qualifying broker, and you'd worked out your non-compete, and you were looking at opportunities to potentially change, and you brought eXp Realty up to me, and I was like, I've never even heard of the company.
Yeah, and it's funny, you know, the people I sold my franchise to that I was still working for, as you said, they're the ones that were actually saying, hey, let's go out and explore all of our options. Because again, I wasn't looking to leave either. We were simply looking at every opportunity out there to try to find what we thought was the best one, because they didn't know if they were going to stay Remax or go a different franchise route or go independent. So it was actually all a part of that. And do you remember I called you? It was like December the 17th. I said, Aileen, have you ever heard of I said, have you heard of eXp Realty? And what did you say?
I've never even heard of it.
You're like, EX what?
I've never heard of it. Don't know why you would even consider leaving Remax. I was zero. I mean, you might have been exploring opportunities. I was not. I had zero interest in ever leaving Remax, and never ever would. I'd still be there today if you hadn't made that call.
Yeah.
But I was like, never heard of the company. Why would you even think of leaving Remax? And then you started going like, well, they've got, you know, this stock and they've got this and this and this. And I'm like, that's super intriguing. I'm not following, you know, because it was so different than what we were used to. Yeah. And again, back then, it just wasn't really even talked about or heard of, and certainly never dreamed that someone would create a platform that paid you so differently than what we were always accustomed to throughout the history of real estate. So
yeah, well, it's definitely revolutionized our industry. That's for sure. And by the way, thank you for taking my call that day and talking to me about it. Thank you for having an open mind. You know, so many agents don't have an open mind. It's so hard to believe. They're like, no, before they ever even hear anything. It's like, really? I just want to say no. You don't even know what you're saying no to yet. And you know me, I'm not pushy. I
with that because my mind was completely closed to it.
Yeah,
you know, and it
listened, and it must have been somewhat open, because here you are 4 years later. And
yeah, when you called me up 3 months later and you said, I met with my team last night, we're moving over to eXp Realty effective April 1st. I was like, what? I was like,
did it?
I was like, have you lost your mind? Like, I really, but I also, on the other hand, I was like, okay, I know how smart he is, and I know how, like, what a great real estate agent he is, what a big team he has, how successful you were, and you were such a mentor to me that I was like, ooh, maybe I ought to take a little closer look at this.
Yeah.
And that was kind of when I got a little bit more serious about looking at it. And then I got this thing out called a calculator. And I started actually putting pen to paper and looking at the numbers. And that's when I got a lot more serious about it. And so obviously, ultimately, 3 months after I made the decision to move as well, which was, you know, I mean, when literally 6 agents in the entire county at eXp Realty, and they had done a total of 13 transactions in the previous 12 months. So, yeah, so I'm making the biggest mistake, you know, ever by coming to this company that was really new and unheard of. But
oh, you're back. I lost you for a second.
You lost me?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. So just kind of rewind what you were saying about 15, 20 seconds.
What was the last thing you heard?
Oh, I honestly don't remember. I was so freaked out because your screen went black. I don't recall. Just back up. Even if you repeat something, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah. So, you know, when I started really taking a look at it, there was only 6 agents in the entire county at the company, and they had done a total of 13 transactions in the previous 12 months. So I thought, my goodness, like, what? I mean, I'm not sure what I'm doing here, because, you know, I felt like the first agent in my market really coming over. So I was like, well, I guess if it's a big giant mistake, hopefully there's a broker in town that will take me back.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But
Probably would have gotten a better deal going back too.
yeah, I don't know, but thankfully it turned out, and I really, when I was making that decision, I was looking at the trends happening outside of my area, and you could just see the trend of top agents in other markets and in other states coming over. So, I felt pretty comfortable about that. And it wasn't 2 weeks after I came over that Jay Kinder was number 4 agent in all of Coldwell Banker, that he came over, and I was like, okay, all right, yeah, I'm good. And then shortly after that, we uplisted and went public on NASDAQ, and I was like, oh wow, that's huge.
Yep.
And then as we both know, the company just absolutely took off from there.
Yep. We opened in the UK. We opened in Australia, I think that year. Like you say, hit the NASDAQ stock exchange. And today, well, to give our viewers a comparison or a contrast, when I joined in April of 2018, I think we had 6,800 agents. And today we have around 85,000 in 22 countries. We just opened Dubai, and they announced opening of Poland here later this year. So exciting times.
Yeah.
Clearly, great real estate story. Again, thanks for just believing in me and believing in this model. It's definitely changing the agents' lives. And talk about what has EXP solved for you as an agent that maybe you didn't have before. I know, and you can go a lot of different directions there.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Training.
I think the biggest thing that it solved, the biggest thing that it solved was lowering the overhead, what it takes to really run a successful real estate business and to grow that business. So, not only was I able to lower that overhead and put that money back into my business, but I was also gave me so much flexibility and opportunity to grow a team, which at the time was one of my goals and one of a big reason why I came over. And things changed, but at the time, I wanted to, I had a small team at Remax, but it was really hindered on my growth because of the overhead and the cost. And so that was the biggest thing that it changed. But additionally, on top of that was not even just the savings and the overhead that I could pump back into my business to grow it, but the compounding effect of earning the stock along the way, the revenue share along the way. That's something, you talk about believing in the model. Well, I wasn't sure if I believed in the model. I mean, yes, everything was spelled out black and white. So that made me comfortable knowing, like, hey, this is how it works. And this is what's going to happen when you hit these kind of production goals and whatnot. So I felt really confident that I was going to hit all those goals and meet the criteria. But until you really get in there and you see how it's working and the compound effect of that stock growing, you really can't know, you really can't know. And so it far exceeded, my hopes on what was going to happen there. So the financial aspect of it is by far and away the number one reason anyone should consider this company.
Yeah. That's awesome. Do you remember telling me, gosh, if I make the move, I'm going to save, and you gave me a number. You can say it if you want, or you don't have to if you don't want, but saving X dollars a year. Do you remember that conversation? Just in fee differences?
I do, because I had various different calculations and I had very specific goals. But the crazy thing is, and once I figured this out by really putting pen to paper, is that number goes up every year. It's not just a flat number.
Right.
I knew, based on my production of the previous year, that number was going to be about 50,000 my first year, which is pretty significant. I was nowhere near going to leave my brokerage over some small amount of money. That wasn't happening. But when I really started thinking, well, 50,000 is pretty significant over time, you start thinking you're going to be in the business another 10 years. But the crazy thing is that it's 50,000 year one, it's, 80 or 90,000 year two, it's 100,000 year three. So the number goes up,
Right.
because of the exponential and the compounding effect of the stock and revenue share.
Yep.
So it's not a flat number that you can just, work out. And then that number is going to be bigger the more production you do, the number can be even bigger than that. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
And you keep 100% of your commission now because you're a 4-time Icon Award winner. Talk to our audience about what that means in terms of an agent that's really producing, what that means for them.
So the Icon program is unique to EXP. Never would have dreamed this program up in a million years, but I also never would have dreamed that we would have equity ownership opportunities as real estate agents inside of a brokerage. So, that's something I greatly underestimated is how quickly that I would gain that equity ownership and how quickly that would grow and grow and grow and grow. But the Icon program it's challenging enough, but it's totally doable, especially in the real estate market that we have seen. And, it's a production requirement, especially in our market where the average price point is, 400,000 or 500,000. It's fairly easy to hit.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you've got a pretty good producing real estate business, there, then essentially you hit that mark. And when you Icon, the company gifts you, up to $16,000 worth of stock back.
Yeah.
And so essentially, if the stock is to grow down the road or do better than at the time that they gifted it to you, you actually then earn more than 100%. Plus, factoring in the revenue share, that's the icing on the cake. That really puts you at over 100%. So I've been at over 100% for the entire time I've been at EXP.
Yeah, that's so awesome. 28 million a year. I can see why.
Well, last year was a pretty magical year. I'm sure most agents, had some pretty high numbers, but yeah, I'm very happy with that.
So that was your best year ever, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And your business continued to grow each year that you've been with EXP, if I remember right.
I had the year I came over at that point, 2018, that ended up being my best year ever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 19 was a great year. 20 was a down year for me because of COVID and the birth of my son. And then 21 was by far, my best year ever. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Let's talk about building a legacy. You just mentioned your son. I've heard some of your reasoning on why you came 4 years ago. What does this mean to your future, your family's future?
Well, I think it has really allowed me to have more balance in my life because of the lower overhead, because of the more retainings on the stock and the equity ownership side. The revenue share, it allows more balance, more family time, which was really important to me. And it's crazy that I've been able to have less stress and more time, yet I'm producing more than I ever have before. And I think it's because this model really, by eliminating so much overhead that we're plagued with, it really takes a lot of pressure and stress off of you. But when you're, if you're putting that money back into your business, or if you're, not having that extra pressure on you, it just allows you to continue to grow effortlessly almost, So I have 1/10 of the stress that I had
Wow.
before. And my business is thriving and I'm retaining more money. And, like I said, the stock equity ownership. I mean, it blows my mind what I've been able to do on that side in 4 years. I way underestimated that portion of it.
And like you say, now you're getting paid 3 ways instead of 1.
Exactly. So, my retirement plan's been cut in half,
Mm-hmm.
So again, more time, more quality time with my family. And that has, the people that are around me that know me, they say that I am completely different.
Yeah.
Stress wise.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
You used to have to
Way
drink
more
a
laid
couple
back.
beers before you would relax. Now you're relaxed every time I see you.
I know. I hardly ever drink at all now.
What advice would you give your 19-year-ago self? What changes would you have made? What would you have done differently? And what advice would you give the agent that's just now getting into the business?
That is a great question. So 19 years ago, had I understood sooner in my business that I was actually running a business, that I wasn't just this independent person out there selling real estate, that I was, this business owner and the CEO, CFO, and COO of my own company, and really understood that component of it. And I always worked off of repeat and referrals. Of course, when you're getting started, you don't have any repeat and referrals. You haven't built up a database. You haven't built up any business.
Yeah.
I
You
didn't
have friends and family.
Yeah. I mean, I just knew I was out there trying to sell real estate as things came along my way. I didn't know how to proactively go out there and really get business and grow the business.
Mhm.
So, if I could go back in time, I would have really wish I would have understood that component sooner and implemented the things that you need to do to scale and grow a business quicker. But again, I was 25 years old. I mean, my first year in the business, I, grossed over $100,000 in commissions. I thought I was going to be a millionaire by the time I was 30. I had no clue the Great Recession was right around the corner and was going to, slap me in the face and set me back, 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. That set a lot of people back for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And what a great parallel. We're in, this is September of 2021 or 2022. And we're not in a recession now. I hate when I hear agents say that specifically because we're not in a real estate recession. We're in a changing market. I always tell people in the real estate market, it's a pendulum. It swings all the way to the right and it comes back, swings all the way to the left. And, we've been far left for the last 2 years in a phenomenal market. I mean, prices, I know in Gulf Shores, in your market, prices were up like 35% just last summer in 3-4 months. But it swings back, it normalizes. And what would you say to the agent that hasn't experienced a changing market or a market that kind of settles down? We've come out of a market where you could put a sign in the yard and it would be sold the next day with multiple offers over ask. Not that way anymore. Although my team, we did sell 2 homes just this past weekend, one in the 500s, one in the 700s, both of them in 2 days. Both had over ask, both had multiple offers. So it is still going on. But I tell people the pricing is still going up. It's just going up at a slower rate, kind of more like 3, 4, 5 years ago. 3% a year is what we saw for, decades in the real estate appreciation side of things. But what do you say to the agent that's never experienced this, that maybe just got into the market during the boom in the last 24 months?
Yeah. So for that agent, they've really got to understand that, that is not a normal market. We are going into a more normalized market, not to be afraid. If they had success and they like the business and they want to stay in the business, do not be afraid of what's coming. All that's coming is a more normal market. And, so my advice to them is whatever brokerage they're in, plug in, do as much coaching, training, knowledge gaining as you can, while continuing to try and service your clients and grow your business. And just understand that, it is going to be harder, but that's normal. This is a business that is a very challenging business. It's a very difficult business to break into. So if you broke into it and you've had some success, be grateful that you're there and understand now that you've got to move with the market. The market's going to change every year. It's never going to stay the same in any form or fashion. And I can't imagine a harder market to ever have to navigate through than what you and I did during the Great Recession. So know that is not the market we're in. I don't believe we're headed anywhere close to anything like that. So, know that we're not headed there. and to continue to plunge forward and continue to really put the effort and time into this business, is you will grow it. You know, you will continue to grow it and you'll continue to have successes if you know, are going to be 100% in, be a professional, plug in, you know, continue to get better, continue to gain knowledge, continue to put your clients, you know, at the forefront of your business. Everything else will work out and you will continue to sell real estate. You will continue to grow.
Absolutely. And continue to stay top of mind. I mean, my advice to that newer agent right now is you need to be talking to your past clients, your sphere of influence, your friends, your family all the time.
Absolutely.
Because what I saw, and I know you saw this too in 07, 08. By the way, I'm thankful that happened. I'll come back to that here in a second. But what I saw is agents complained about how horrible the market was in 07, 08. They kind of sat on the sidelines and did nothing and used it as an excuse on why they weren't selling anything. And that's what I say to those agents. I mean, you've got to plug in, you've got to dig deeper. You said, you know, you've got to continue educating yourself. And you know, my contribution is staying in touch with your clients, because if you're top of mind during a shifting market, you're still going to be top of mind when the market gets stronger, and you're going to be the one they thought of, not the agents that weren't even communicating with their sphere, that were just sitting on the sidelines complaining. And back to my point, the reason I said I'm glad we had the recession, because I don't believe you and I would have ever met had we not gone through that. Because you remember that you were proactive enough, and this is something else agents can do. I mean, you took a property management role for a condominium association that I happened to own in, you owned in, and you did it to supplement your income for fear of the unknown. If the market gets tighter, you know, you here's another way I can make money. You know, going back to, you know, it's great having multiple revenue streams.
Yep.
That's how you and I met.
It is.
Association meeting in October of 2013, I believe
Right.
it was.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So
yeah, and so many people, they see your successes, they don't have a clue the hard work that went into it. And you are absolutely right. I mean, I got, you know, stayed in real estate. I knew I didn't want it. I knew I loved the business. I knew it was what I wanted to do, but it was hard. It was really hard. And, you know, getting that management job where I ran the condo complex, you know, I worked my butt off to keep my business where it needed to be and run that complex the way it needed to be.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I had 2 jobs and they were both very important. And but you know what? When I came out on the other side, I had a whole new sector to my resume of experience. And in addition to that, you know, not only did I survive, but I thrived.
Yeah.
And, you know, I had that money again to put back into my business to continue to grow my business. So it was, you know, a lot of hard work. Those were hard years. But I wouldn't trade them for anything.
Yep. I wouldn't either. You and I worked together kind of unofficially, I guess, although I was on the board. I don't mean in that capacity, but I can remember, you know, for 4 years, we just developed a phenomenal friendship. And again, I thank you for that, because it was 4 years later after we met when I made that phone call and said, "Hey, Aileen, have you ever heard of EXP Realty?" And you're like, "EX what?" Hard to believe that it's been that long ago, but appreciate the friendship and all we've had over the years, and appreciate all you've done with EXP since too. You've built one heck of an organization, not just all over the state of Alabama, but multiple countries and multiple states, and just love helping you build that legacy for your family as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the thing is, you know, with this company, the sky's the limit on where you can take your business. It's not one dimensional, it's 3, and it's completely borderless. So eventually we'll be in every country in the world. But yeah, just so much opportunity to grow with this company and to do it without having to take on the traditional overhead that you would have to take on to scale and to grow, you know, outside of a local area.
Right. Speaking of that, you're a broker like me, not just an agent, but a licensed real estate broker. Why did you not ever just form your own brokerage?
That never appealed to me. The biggest reasons were I didn't want the additional overhead. I did not want the liability.
What do you
And
mean by that?
the overhead or the liability?
A liability. I mean, low overhead. I'm sure you're talking about an office and
Yeah,
staff and so forth.
exactly. Liability, I mean, first of all, we have tons of liability just with our own self. And, I can control, exactly what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And I try and do everything by the book in the right way to avoid, the liability side of our business. But that's inevitable, even if you're perfect. Not inevitable, but it can happen even if you're perfect. So then you take on, you try and have a brokerage and bring on other agents. Well, number one, how you've got to train them, you're responsible for them.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to trust that they're doing things the way you would do them or the way that you would want them done from a liability standpoint. And, I just don't think you can ever do that. So that had no interest in me between the overhead, the liability, and then, just having to try and retain agents. I mean, I saw, agents can be fickle. And it's a lot of work as a broker, and I felt like my time was much better spent on my business and on my clients. Mm-hmm. and growing my real estate sales and growing my client database was my by far and away my number one priority. And to dilute that and water it down with these other tasks and other things that come with owning your own brokerage, I wanted no part of.
Right. Awesome. Yep. 450 brokerages partnered with EXP last year alone. What would you say to the broker owner that's never heard of that, or maybe they're thinking of doing that and partnering with us as well? And any comments there?
I think a lot of broker owners, they're a lot like real estate agents. They're very set in their ways. They're very set in, this is how I've always done it. So you're not even really thinking about another opportunity. I would tell them just be open to looking at the partnership, because there's so many solutions that EXP, as a big company that's really figured it out, can do for your business, where you can go then put your focus back on mentoring your agents. And if you are a selling broker, which most brokers, I think every broker I know just about is a sales agent as well.
Right.
You can put your focus where it really should be, which is not on the operational side of the brokerage. Mm-hmm. It's not on the, the legal side, the admin side, everything that it takes to run a brokerage. That's not where your time is best spent. And EXP can then take all that off your plate, and you can really put your time and energy back where it should be. And somebody who's a broker mindset, and the successful brokers that I know are very talented people, very bright and talented, good leaders, good people. And they could have a tremendous amount of success partnering with this brokerage. And then the sky is the limit. And they probably don't even understand that component. So yeah, my advice would just be open to it. Just sit down and take a look at it. If you don't like it, just don't do it. But if you don't know about it, you don't know about it. You don't know what you don't know. And that was me.
Exactly. Yeah, I was too. I wasn't looking either. I was looking for the owners, because they were looking at, are we going to keep doing what we're doing? And, we happened upon EXP as a part of that in part. And as a broker owner myself, when I owned my Remax, I had the sleepless nights. I was called into the real estate commission a couple of times. Fortunately, was never accused of any wrongdoing, but like you say, people can be litigious, and it comes with the territory. But what I didn't realize was, oh my gosh, I can actually grow a global brokerage now instead of just a local brokerage. Because unless you're a broker that's got a license in multiple states and you're close to that state line, you want to kind of cross those state lines, which which I was in Kentucky. I'm, border the Ohio River, go across the river. You're in Indiana. So I was in 2 states. But what blew me away is just the ability to attract agents to your EXP organization. It's borderless. I've got 280 agents now in 4 countries and 21 states. And I never grew my Remax brokerage outside of the greater Louisville area, beyond, low to mid 30s in headcount and agents. So, I mean, that kind of shocked me that opportunity was there. So the 200 person brokerage owner today could easily be 2,000 in the future. I could name names of brokers that have done that with EXP, and those are some pretty satisfying and people that aren't stressed like you anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
aren't stressed like you said you used to be. I have to clarify that in case somebody jumped on a little later in our conversation. But
right.
Yeah. Anything else you want to share with our audience relative to what you've attributed your success to? Anything they should be doing, not doing? I know you're a highly respected agent in your market, and I know there's younger agents in your market and people that think a lot of you. Anything you'd like to say to those people specifically?
If you're serious about your real estate business and you're serious about growing it, my advice is to keep plugging along. And if there's anything that I can do for anyone in my market, whether they're with this company or not with this company, I think I will say one thing I've noticed about being at eXp Realty and the way that our platform is set up and the way everything is set up, your mindset really shifts to, we're all in this together. Whether whether you're with this company, whether you're not with this company. And so I see a lot of giving back, and so I'm happy to give back. I was mentored. I had great mentors. I'm happy to pass that along in a mentorship. If anyone ever needs anything from me, they're more than welcome to call me. I will always take time to help another agent out. We had an agent in my market that I'm good friends with this company, and he did a class yesterday. It was open to every brokerage, every agent, and just all about growing your referral network. And yeah. I thought that was so cool. And I went and supported him yesterday, not because I'm trying to really grow my referral network, but just to go out and show support to him. He's given back. And I kind of was thinking about it. I was reflecting on it, and I was like, that's really kind of something that's so different about our company is you see so many agents within our company that are just giving back to other agents. And I don't know, I think it's just a lot of it is the way that our platform is. Once you get in it and you get entrenched, your mindset starts to change, and you realize that, like, hey, we're all in this together, Right. And so if you're serious about your real estate business, I'm here to help you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I know you are. I am as well. As members of the Freedom Team that I helped co-found, we're 3,000 agents strong. I've never felt collaboration like Freedom Team and like what we have at EXP. When I saw our core values, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Because my experience was with core values is they hung on the boardroom wall along with the mission and the vision statement, and they weren't always practiced in reality inside of a corporation. But that's blown me away at EXP. Agent owners pouring into each other because they know when I help another agent win in whatever capacity they're trying to win in, whether it's attracting agents or whether it's increasing their sales or just being better at something, when that agent wins, the company wins. And when the company's winning, all the agent owners are winning. And I think that was brilliant when Glenn Sanford created this company back in 2009. It is just to have the vision to see that collaborative philosophy. And I've never seen it anywhere else.
I completely agree with that. I mean, I was really blown away by that aspect. But if you really, you really take a look at it, it's exactly what you said. You have given real estate agents a piece of the brokerage. They're all owners of the brokerage. So who cares more than an owner? You care immensely. And the other thing is because we're one company and we're completely borderless, you and I are on calls with the top agent in Colorado, the top agent in Nashville, the top agent here, top agent there, and we're all sharing ideas and collaborating completely borderless. We're not in competition with one another. And, right. Typically your top agents or your agents, they kind of get a niche or whatever, and they kind of keep it to themselves, which is fine. I mean, that's just how it always was. You kind of had to figure out your own way. Totally different with EXP. I mean, everything is an open book, and the collaboration really is truly remarkable. And it's like nothing that I've ever seen before. And the willingness of people just genuinely giving. And right. That is because we are all part owners. I mean, that is the difference.
Yeah, huge difference. My experience too with other firms was training was done by the best agent in the building, and their knowledge was local. So you didn't get the global knowledge that we get today. And their knowledge was, they'd only give about 85% of it because they knew they were training their local competitors in their local office. That was my experience. I don't know if you experienced that or not, but I talked to a lot of agents that totally agree with that. Just a totally different model to actually own the brokerage, just like the CEO and the presidents and the co-presidents or the vice presidents and the founder.
The longer you're with the company, the more you sell, the more production you do, the more you own. So, yep. I mean, it's all proportionate fairly based on what you put into the company and what you give. So, never, and that's how it should be, we're out working our butts off every day, and here we get, appropriately rewarded for that hard work. So
absolutely. Is it okay? Can I put your phone number up on the banner that's scrolling by? You mentioned having agents reach out to you. Are you okay with that?
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Good deal. Well, there you go, folks. I know, and that goes for, agents in other cities and states too. Obviously, Aileen would love your referrals in the Gulf Shores and Orange Beach, Alabama market. I would love your referrals in the Louisville, Kentucky, Southern Indiana market. I'm also licensed in Alabama too. Aileen's my go-to person though on all my Alabama business. So appreciate that partnership. Any closing remarks? I don't want to cut you short, but I don't want to, is there anything else that you'd kind of like to give our audience before we start shutting the show down today?
No, I mean, I appreciate you, wanting to spend this time with me, and I'm very passionate about this company because I am 19 years in the business, and I know how different our model is from every other model out there. And I'm so appreciative that someone came up with this company and took the time to build this so that all of us that have come to this company can better our financial future as a result of it. So, being in it for 4 years and seeing my goals come to fruition, seeing everything that I hoped that the company would be not only accurate, but in some ways better than I had anticipated, just gives me a lot of love and passion for the company. And so, it's real. I'm always skeptical. You should always be skeptical, when you're going into something that you're not sure about. I wasn't 100% sure. I wasn't 100% sure how the platform was really going to work. I wasn't 100% sure if everything that they said they were going to do and be, and it was. And so I think the company is very transparent. I think the company 100% puts the agent first, which is, how it should be. And of course, every brokerage says they put the agent first, but when you really get in and you see how everybody takes a piece of the pie down the way, and you can eliminate all that, why, how is that not better? And somebody actually thought like, hey, I'm going to eliminate all this, fluff and
Right.
give the agents more money and give them equity ownership. And nobody was going to do that, but somebody did. And it just blows my mind that somebody was, that thoughtful to change the way that we're paid and to change the way that a brokerage runs and operates. So that's
Yep.
it. That's all I got.
And Glenn's Sanford goal was to build the most agent-centric brokerage on the planet, and I personally believe he's done that. So thank you, Glenn. If you're watching today, I appreciate you very much. I consider you a friend, and that's another amazing thing. I mean, how many places can you walk into a convention and walk up and shake the founder's hand, and he'll know your name? I mean, that's just freaking unbelievable.
Yep, I've met him a handful of times. He's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
very, very humble person.
He is. Got countless selfies with him too. I'll have to post
Yep.
those again sometime. But well, listen, Aileen, you're a dear, dear friend. I appreciate you so very much. I'm so glad we met back in 2013. You've changed my life. We're changing agents' lives. I just consider you a dear friend, and thank you. Appreciate you being on the show today and sharing your wisdom, and looking forward to the next 20 years with you at eXp Realty. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. Likewise, I couldn't ask for a better mentor. I'll just leave it at that.
You're too sweet. Thank you so much. Well, again, thanks for your time. Reach out to Aileen, everybody, 251-377-5232. If you have any questions for her, or if you want to take her up on her willingness to pour into you like we're pouring into other agents all over the world. So thank you. Tim Hollenden, again, the Hollenden team, eXp Realty, and co-founding member of the Freedom team at eXp. Thanks, everybody. Have an awesome day.
Thanks, Tim.